Hello. As AI and Chat GPT changes the world, English language teaching professionals are obviously adapting to that and responding. In this video, I go through a methodology of trying to create materials with target language embedded in them. And I think what comes out is that although it's powerful and has a lot of potential, there are problems with it as well. To use an analogy, it's almost like if someone were to say to you, you've got a bit of a journey to make here, like a 15Ks walk or something. I'll teleport you most of the way, but when you arrive, you're going to be in a bit of a state, and you're going to need to have a wash and sort of like get changed and stuff. Do you want to do that, or do you want to walk the whole way? There might be times where you say, teleport and arrive a bit disheveled. That sounds fun. I think I'll go for it. And other times where you might say, think we need to walk the whole journey there to know exactly like how to get there and so on. Chat GPT is the hyperspace version of that, where you arrive, a bit messed up and then have to sort of fix it. But it's very fast and it's very powerful. Have a look at this, see what you think, put your comments in, and happy experimenting. Well, let's start by looking at how Chat GPT can be used to create a kind of a situational dialogue. This is going to be a medical one. With Chat GPT, you can experiment quite a lot, but for the purposes of this video, I've prepared the prompts in advance. Even then, there's a bit of variability in quality, but it should give like a pretty good idea of like what can be done and what still remains to be done, even when the output is there. So let's imagine a situational dialogue. If you're familiar with English language course books, then you'll know the kind of thing I mean. But here we're basically going to try and include some target language in, which is going to be collocations with get, and we'll try and generate lists of those first. So obviously the line drawing here could be used to sort of raise awareness of the context, to draw people's sort of cognition towards their knowledge of those situations. And yes, it's a female nurse and a male patient, which we're going to try and reverse as well later on. Let me just minimize that and come over there. So Chat GPT is open on the left. It's just got two windows open for convenience. So, okay, Mr. Chat, make a list of collocations, get plus noun. So that's just one of the strings which is common in English when you're treating get as a delexicalized verb. Okay, get married, get a job, get permission, get promotion, a haircut, groceries. There's lots of really interesting language there. Not specifically to do with health. So another step could be kind of like thank you very much, but can you reorientate this or recast this with a particular situational focus? And let's see what it comes up with. So get plus noun can be used to discuss health, and straight away you can see that it hasn't really got the syntax right. Get married is not a get plus noun. Get a job, okay. Get permission, get promotion, get a haircut, and they're not all ones that can be used to discuss health, but they come later on. Get in shape by number 10. Get a checkup, get vaccinated, get sick, get better. It hasn't been able to carry it out exactly, but there's a lot of useful language there. So, you see this a lot when you use the tool, that the output is one thing and your sort of critical or sort of professional use of it is something else, really. Just to show you, again, it can have a crack at different kinds of syntax. Get plus past participle is something you can ask it about as well. And it does manage to consistently produce that string, get started, get caught, get lost, although, again, it, I suppose, accessed its whole corpus for that rather than just going sort of health context. Anyway, it's kind of got that in its memory. So ideally, and I think ChatGPT 4 does this better, but we're going to ask it to use several of these phrases to create a dialogue between a male nurse, let's just get rid of that typo, and a female patient discussing a medical problem. And I obviously prepped this before, and what I found was that it didn't do it like that before. Anyway, oh well, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Good afternoon. Can I help you? I've been feeling unwell today. I can't seem to get better. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Have you got started on any new medications recently? I got vaccinated. Oh gosh. Got any symptoms? Got a headache? Got you checked up? There's something very usable about that. And again, I think as a professional, you might want to go over that with your class in mind and think, can I target this to something that is genuinely more appropriate in their context? But I quite like that. It's certainly got some sort of potential. Just to show like other things that the software can do. I mean, so far we've focused on a sort of a lexical sort of target language in there, and it actually did put some of that in. But what about if we said, okay, add relative clauses to this dialogue? I've been having a quick look through at the moment. There's the odd one in here. I've got a headache that won't go away. It's essential to make sure there's nothing. I mean, there's certainly complex clauses in there, but I think once we add this, it will be able to add some information-bearing sort of clauses. Any medications recently that might be causing these, problems. A few weeks ago, which was recommended by my primary care physician, especially for people who have underlying health conditions. I actually like this a bit more now, maybe because it's, although it's perhaps not, I mean, authenticity is something we're going to mention later on, and that's a question, right? I mean, how authentic can it be? What do you get if you distill, if you ask an algorithm to distill everything it can find on the internet about this kind of thing, and it has things that are usable, but I think if you think about the movement in ELT, which includes things like task-based learning, it's not really going in that direction. Certainly, you could point out quite big differences there, but I think there's always been that contrast in ELT, and I guess this orientates it a little bit more towards the synthesized or artificial or what have you, but hopefully not in a way that makes it completely invalid. So there's that, and now we've got this dialogue here, and obviously I can copy and paste that. I'm going to start a new chat for the second example, which is sort of create an academic language sample. I'm thinking more about IELTS students now. So a text which again is sort of seeded with target language. As we know, once a text has target language in it, it can be exploited in a number of ways. So this text is going to be on equitable development between global north and global south. You can see what we're getting at in the picture here. Again, pictures like this could be really useful if it ever became materials. I mean, there's a bit of a misnomer here with Australia being in the global north, the blue part, and so on. So it's sort of interesting, isn't it, how that works? And obviously you could, if you're into IELTS and you're into the academics or critical thinking, you could be asking who made this map and how widespread is it? Is it widely accepted? Does anyone object to this? How do the terms come about and so on? Anyway. So prompt number 1 here, make a list of adjective noun collocations which are commonly used in the IELTS writing exam. Let's see what I can do here. Okay, I quite like that. Strong evidence, crucial factor, significant impact. These are academic word list type things as well, and there's a number of really good published resources. There's academic collocations list made by Pearson, which is well, we know the principles on which it's based rather than the Chat GPT algorithm, which is sort of a black box to us, isn't it? I mean, the academic collocations list from Pearson has people like Douglas Bieber involved, who are the top people in the world in that. So It's genuinely representative across the corpus that it comes from. Here, I mean, straight away, I think intuitively teachers will feel this is useful. You know, key issue, major problem, essential component, critical analysis. I guess Chat GPT's accessed some published IELTS exemplars and things like that and come up with something quite useful there, hopefully based on a frequency count and so on. Okay, so write on how global north and global south could combine more equitably to advance development using examples from the list. I think I've got a typo in there, so let me just correct that. How the global north, so to say, can combine more equitably to advance development using examples from the list. Okay, see what it comes up with. So the problem that it's got here, obviously, is that it thinks that the collocation should be used as sort of like little mini headings. So I've gone about this a number, but let's try it like this. Don't use the collocations as headings, but incorporate into main text. Okay. The one I tried earlier actually worked well, but there's something slightly unpredictable about this, but it is interesting. What can it understand and what can it not understand? You definitely can't leave it like that. So perhaps we could try rewriting it as continuous text. Okay, that's better. I'm assuming the target language is still in there. We obviously need to sense check everything that comes out of its mouth. So what we could say is just checking on the target language. Okay, is it still in there? Because these things can disappear in these complex processes. Highlight the adjective noun collocations from the list. Let's do it. You can do this. Critical analysis, vital information, valuable insights, lasting impact, relevant data, undeniable reality. But actually, gender equality, some of these weren't on the list, were they? Gender equality we didn't have. We go back to the list. Where is he? Up here. The gender word is not in there. So, however, it is something that is reasonably useful. Again, but not without sort of like professional supervision, really. It's almost like, adult supervision might be a way of putting it, with the emphasis being on the ELT professional to sort of sense check it. But I mean, just to show again the power of it, here are some true or false questions related to the text. True or false, the global north and global south can collaborate to advance development more equitably by leveraging their respective strengths and addressing shared challenges. One of the potential issues here is that the questions have target language which is more difficult than the target language. But if this was for productive writing purposes, that would be okay. They comprehend the more difficult language and they use the easier language in their writing. And obviously you need to sense check that. Is this a question that you can actually answer? And many of them, I think, can be guilty of the problem whereby the question's so complicated, it's so obvious what the answer is. Like, do you agree that it would be better in optimal conditions that there was no, like terrible poverty in the world and that everyone was kind of okay? It's kind of like, who's going to say no? It's not really that kind of question. So again, I think that could be considered to be a weakness. However, I think some of the potential should be obvious there. So just a very brief summary. This is what I think of it so far. Pros, obviously, you've got things like the speed of it is absolutely unbelievable. The power of it is unbelievable. And that's sort of like slightly overlapping, really. Flexibility, I mean, we saw it can produce a number of different types of strings of language. But cons, I mean, accuracy, it doesn't always do exactly what you ask it to do. Even at the level of syntax, it makes errors, which is weird because it must have tagged the whole of its corpus. And authenticity, I mean, if pragmatics and subtleties and social purposes and transactional realities and communication are things that might be present in task-based learning. This is kind of a long way from that, really. Whereas kind of like clinical language sample-based learning, and I think some of the colour and significance, human level significance, has to be put back in this. So it's almost like a Frankenstein situation where you've got this sort of text and it's kind of like, can it be reanimated now? Although we managed to assemble it very quickly, it still needs some work. So that's kind of what I've got for now. Let me know what you think in the comments.